for Oh My God, we're going to talk about empowering teachers to become better leaders in the gender neutral school. So that is very an exciting episode, no? Kasi alam ko maraming matututunan ng ating mga listeners and viewers. Kaya aabangan po natin yan. Maya-maya lang. Okay, good afternoon mga katropa. I'm very honored to introduce to you our special guest for today. He is the Assistant Schools Division Superintendent and one of the pillars of SDOQC, no other than Engineer Mark Voltaire A. Padilla. Good afternoon, Sir Mark.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Magandang hapon po.
Would you like to greet someone, sir, or anyone before we start?
No one in particular anyway, but hello po to all those who are tuned in to this program. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. And continue to support this program. It's a very worthwhile effort. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So let's go straight to the point, sir. So what does an empowered teacher mean? Can you tell us what you think of an empowered teacher? What comes to your mind when you hear the word empowered teacher?
Well, basically when you say empowered, ibig sabihin you're imbued with an authority to do something. Ibig sabihin the way I look at it is when you empower someone, it's someone that you have given the authority, the permission, parang ganyan, and the support, most especially to enable him or her to do something, to achieve something or to act on something, or either on their own or to act in behalf of an organization, parang ganyan. So it's really, if I boil it down really to, let's say, a virtue, I think it's more about trust. You're given that idea or that feeling that someone trusts you, that you can accomplish something. Yeah.
Having the power to accomplish something. Yun yung nakuha ko kay sir. So sir, as a school leader, how will you know? Paano mo makikita sa isang teacher, this one has the potential of becoming a school leader in the future? Ano po yung nakikita nyo usually sa teachers na may potential to become a good leader?
Well, actually, there are a lot of telltale signs when you really look at it na to identify or to pinpoint that this person has a potential, parang ganyan. And it really is anchored on the core principle of leadership, that leadership is a social event. So, I mean, diba, you cannot call yourself a leader tapos ikaw lang, diba? Ikaw lang yung member, diba? Parang it connotes that it's a social event. So the number one telltale sign there is really the gregariousness of a person. Yung paano siya, is he looked up by his peers? Is he accepted? Okay ba siya? Can he handle certain pressures? Is he able to relate with other personality types, yung mga ganyan, without so makikita mo kaagad yan eh. Hindi yung someone who's very social or ano lang na, 'di ba? Parang like a social. Hindi ganoon eh. It's a way na you will actually see it in the way they interact. Na is his ideas being taken seriously? Pag siya ba yung makikita mo yan in some crowds, kahit maliit na kwentuhan lang eh, na pag siya na ba yung are everyone paying attention? Pag siya na yung kunyari turn to tell a story or something, or may idea that he's expounding, you will see it in that social context. So hindi siya yung sabihin mong, you cannot really pinpoint, sabihin mo, itong taong to in isolation. It's really, you will see them when they interact, when in that social context, you will see that there's some certain people who will be able to exude that characteristics na lalabas at then you will know na ito has a potential to really to rise as a leader, as someone that can guide other people.
You believe, sir, that we're teachers or leaders?
Well, of course, it's inherent to the to the job that they do. Di ba? Molding people, di ba? Teaching something. Di ba? Parang ano lang yan eh, di ba? The role of a teacher really is to make something hard very easy. Di ba? Ganun lang yan. Lagi kong sinasabi yan sa mga teacher. Ang role nyo as teachers is to make something hard, di ba, into something easy para magawa nila. Not to make something easy very hard. Di ba? Lagi sinasabi, yung pahirapan. Hindi naman. But in a way, yun talaga. That's the essence of it. And when you transform, let's say, a skill or a competency that you want a person to get, or kahit ganyan, kahit knowledge lang, a skill, a skill to add quantities, diba? 1 plus 1, parang ganyan. The way to translate that is, yan yung isang subtle but very important characteristics of a leader. Yung to be able to know how to relate something to a particular person. Di ba, ako believe talaga ako sa mga teacher natin sa ganyan. You give them 45 students. Di ba, those are 45 different people, di ba? But at the end of the year, at the end of the year, if you can get all 45 to move up, di ba, that's a phenomenal feat, I would think, di ba? 45 different people and ma-relate mo yung lesson sa kanya. And ito this is an honest when we go yung classroom observations, it's really inherent pag makikita mo doon na a single concept is not explained in one single way. Di ba? Minsan 3-4 na beses, hindi dahil paulit-ulit, pero kasi iba-iba talaga. Di ba? Makikita mo that the teacher, you will feel that, you will see that the teacher is trying to reach each and every one of the student in his class na might not be someone who, di ba, kunyari, he starts off with a very textbook definition of something, mga ganyan, makikita mo doon may mga nagre-react. But hindi siya titigil doon, di ba? Nakikita niya na may mga hindi nag-react. Yun, I think yun yung talagang believe ako sa isang guro na parang nasa puso talaga nila yung no child left behind. Parang yan talagang ano nila yun. Talagang oo. They're not diba? And I'm so happy talaga when I hear teachers na parang they cannot let go of any single kahit isa lang na hindi papasa, hindi parang hirap na hirap yung kalooban nila. Hindi nila binibitawan. And I think that's leadership. That's leadership in its very core essence. Kasi at the end of the day, when you say leadership, when you're a leader, when you're it's about bringing people up. It's about, it's not about merely setting the direction and say, oh, sige, go, di ba? It's also, di ba, making them able to do it, making them able to follow you, making them able to, achieve whatever goal that you have set na they have decided to make their own as well, mga ganyan. So, ganun yun. Parang dahil social event, di ba, sabi ko nga, the leadership is a social event and tao ang kausap, I think yun ang pinaka-core. And kung yun lang ang batayan, of course, there are many motherboard. Kung yun lang ang batayan, I think, di ba, teachers will be hands up the number 1 qualified when we define what a leader is.
Yeah. So going back to our title, gender neutral schools. Why do you think we need to empower teachers enable for us to promote a gender neutral school? Do you think there are connections? What do you think, sir?
I think if you relate that, let's say, empowering our teachers into, really achieving gender neutral, kasi parang when you empower someone, parang when you say you're gender neutral, ibig sabihin there's really no bias, there's really no stereotypes, mga ganyan. There's really no parang branding of what they can or cannot do, or diba, or certain parang ganun. Ibig sabihin it's neutral. The way you will approach anyone, any single person is parang ganun talaga. It's really equal opportunity.
Yes.
Meaning hindi dahil hindi mo pa siya kilala at dahil babae siya ayaw mo na kaagad utusan ng mga ganitong klase or not to give certain opportunities of this nature dahil iniisip mo meron kaagad barrier or biases or stereotypes. So I think in that case, if you relate leadership to that, it's just that to believe in someone, di ba? Kaya nga trust yan eh. When you empower someone, you trust na kaya nila eh. Now, if you trust someone, you trust them not because of any criterion, di ba? You trust them because you believe that as a person, not as a man, not as a woman, not as any other gender types, that you believe that as a person kaya niyang gawin yon. And if they do that, if they then it is something that will improve them, make them stronger, make them better, make them, diba, better teachers, better individuals, better, and ready them for the next steps, diba, parang ganon. And when you move up, let's say either in rank or in position, diba, alam nila that they know how to handle certain situations, mga ganyan. So ibig sabihin, the opportunity you give to other, that's the neutrality in that. It will not be based on, any other criteria, most specifically gender, kasi if it's gender neutral. And second is, that's the leadership concept of it. It's to really give opportunities to people to move up. Yan.
As a school leader, sir, how do we strengthen gender-neutral school now that we are in a new normal? Speaking of gender-neutral school.
Oh, in the new normal.
Yeah.
Well, the way you promote that, diba? Or strengthen, we use the word strengthen. The way you promote that is really just to give a lot of opportunities for them to do something. Diba? Yan nga, parang we anchor it in the word empowerment or something, but it's really just about opportunities. As a school head, diba? As a school leader, as a school, ang dami, mahaba yung gamut of your facet. Diba? You have administrative functions, you administer assignments, grade level assignments, hiring, all of these things, finance of the school, mga personnel actions, leave, and all of these things, and those are the administrative aspects. But at the same time, you also cover the educational aspects of running a school, the content, curriculum, all the dashboards that we have, diba? Yung mga non-readers, ganyan, or yung ating promotion rate, ang ating diba? All of those things are managed. This is the other side of the coin. And to put it into one person really is, diba? Kaya sinasabi nila, diba, very empowered, or sinasabi very powerful, ganyan ang tawag nila mga dahil lahat yan ng facets. And the way to really prepare your kung ito pala yung skill, if you realize that this is the skill sets needed to be a school leader, then it's time to build up people, di ba? Ito, yung mga small, that's empowering them. Ibig sabihin, let's say, delegating certain functions, di ba? Pagdating dito, I will trust your recommendations. So, pagdating dito, di ba, managing, let's say, ang dami rin nating programs in DepEd, di ba? There's a feeding program, there's a school-based management, there's a Brigada Eskwela, there's a, di ba, SIP, ganyan, ang dami, di ba? So, because all of this nakikita on the apex of the school, which is the school head himself or herself, diba? Dahil nag-ano yan, ito na yung time na if we envision, kasi not all people really hold, diba parang yan we always have to realize that we will never be forever in that position or mga ganyan, diba? And it's really good to really hand it over to someone who's capable. Hindi yung parang nag-alga ako, wala na ako, di ba? Re-retire na ako, na mangyayari sa school. Di ba? Hindi ganun eh. That's not the leadership we're promoting eh. You have to be very confident the school will be in good hands, and to able to do that is yun nga, diffuse that. Some of the some functions you can, kasi ito yung, di ba, if you realize na ito yung nila, then step up and do that as a principal. Pero the others that can be delegated, this is a chance, this is the opportunity that you can give all these teachers to improve and then get a glimpse, diba? At least get a try or a glimpse of how it is to be empowered to do something, how it is to be responsible, how it is to be accountable for something. Yan. And then I think that's the seed that we plant that na mag-grow. And then later on, they can be, makikita mo yan that they are ready for bigger responsibilities, di ba? You can move them up, let's say, from merely, let's say, a grade level to a school level to, let's say, a division representative. Mga ganyan-ganyan ng pwede yan. Because that's within the purview of a principal. And that's the way to really empower our teachers. That's the way to really create new leaders. Parang ganyan.
Parang the organization, sir, can move even without you. Diba? Parang
that's the dream, diba?
Even without the leader, parang diba? So that's a good leader. Parang your organization can function even without your presence. Parang kaya mo silang pabayaan and work on their own. Ang yung natutunan.
Ibig sabihin, if you achieve that, diba, that level of trust na kaya mo na silang, that speaks so much about a school. Speaks so much about an organization, diba? Meaning, it's not anchored on personalities, not anchored, but really competent individuals as part of that organization.
Yes. Sir, before we move, I have here questions of Teacher Bobby. So here are the questions. Teacher Bobby, take it away.
Engineer Mark Voltaire Padilla, welcome to the Voice of the Teachers. Sir, just to ensure that all of our listeners understand the terms that we are using, what do we mean by gender neutral or gender inclusive schools?
Well, siguro kung may difference man to my personal appreciation is very subtle na lang. I think interchangeably those words are used in most instances, 'di ba? Pero to be gender neutral, really yun nga, yung walang bias, neutral. Ibig sabihin there's no precognition that meron ka agad things that they can or cannot do simply because based on gender. 'Di ba? Parang ganun, very very neutral, very yeah, no stereotypes, no yan discrimination lalo na, 'di ba? Walang preconceived notion na may kaya o hindi, 'di ba? Or sometimes bias pa nga, 'di ba? Yung hindi yung meron kang 'di ba mas gusto mo para may preference ka, 'di ba? Pag ganoon na yung I think that's what we call really a truly gender neutral For inclusiveness, gender inclusiveness, I think it's the openness, 'di ba? Parang ang case in point, 'di ba, in a few decades back, most schools, most educational institutions were catering to, strictly gender-based enrollment, di ba? Like an all-girls school, an all-male school, and yung mga ganyan-ganyan, di ba? But wala, the times has changed after a few decades within this, it's something that's, di ba, almost unthinkable at this point in time, di ba? Like all the other gender types and male, female, and all the colors of the rainbow. Kaya ba? Yan yung tawag. So, ibig sabihin, that's inclusivity. Ibig sabihin, kasama yan. Di ba? Pwede sila. They have a place in here. Like, maybe a case in point like sports, for example. Di ba? I mean, there's no longer that those biases and they're included. They have their own di ba? Minsan nga, some sports event also create a certain di ba? So that's inclusivity kasi pwede na, di ba? Kung gusto nyo, di gawa tayong sariling category nila, di ba? But they can still partake of that particular activity. Ganun. So, I think it's very subtle nga, di ba? Mostly gender neutral and gender inclusive can be used interchangeably. But meron silang yung a very subtle distinction in terms of I think the application of the yung application of gender in terms of integrating it to work, or at least yung preferences or biases or being neutral.
Why do you believe it is important to have gender neutral or gender inclusive schools?
Well, it's why do we believe that it's important?
Yes.
Well, because in this day and age, di ba, everyone has the potential. Or parang ito yan parang bakit siya important? Kasi ngayon, equal opportunity given to different people this past few has proven. Di ba dati it was a big thing to have the first female president. It was a big thing to have di ba yung mga ganyan So, and what did we learn from that experience? We learned that they're able, they're capable, and they are so much, di ba, dami nga na, di ba, na first women prime minister, and then gaganda rin na nagawa, and no, parang this experience we had as a parang a humankind, parang ganyan, has shown us that there's really no point in creating biases that we can create, that it's really better. If we talk about an organization, di ba, parang nakakabuti pa nga sa organization that you give everyone the opportunity kasi the best will rise. Yes. Di ba? Rather than yung parang meron kakagad, hindi, lalaki lang, pag ganito, ganyan. So sayang, baka meron tayo palang na-miss na opportunity na meron palang girl doon or any gender for that matter that could have done, di ba, magnanimously better. And that's what we learned from history. That's what we learned from all of these experiences in the past. And now we have culminated and dumating tayo dito sa point na to that it's really the norm, it's really the accepted na parang nakaka-shock pa nga ngayon kapag may bias ka na. It has really gone full circle from a really, di ba, parang different culture into a more accepting, more neutral, more inclusive society na talaga. Yeah.
I would like to follow that up with another question. What is the City Schools Division of Quezon City doing to be able to ensure that we have gender-neutral or gender-inclusive schools? Do we have any projects or programs in the pipeline that you are going to implement in the future to ensure that we have gender-neutral and gender-inclusive schools?
Okay. So, some things that are, una is not only that it's because it's provided for by law, di ba? The law on gender and development on GAD. Yun pa lang makikita mo na that, that a society as a race or as a parang kunyari, as Filipinos, ganyan, our nation has decided that this is something that this is something important. This is something na enough to legislate support for it. That gender and development is really part of all our programs and all other attributions we have in other activities that we do. So, yan yung mga nasa pipeline. Ibig sabihin, now that it's part of it, we have a lot of the say orientation. Even our organization has changed, has moved. Diba? We have created positions, organizations within DepEd, within the division that emphasizes on coordinating and really specializing on GAD aspects, on gender and development. Kasama yan, di ba? Kasama pati organization na dagdagan because we saw that key person should be placed here to really safeguard or to really come up with ideas or how to help the organization move forward towards this direction of inclusivity.
Last question from Teacher Bobby.
I have a question. It is not necessarily related to the topic that we're discussing right now, but this happened just very recently. It was reported a couple of days ago that there was a public school teacher who was caught on the floor inside his classroom together with another 15-year-old female student. It was reported that there were 3 condoms found on the scene, and this is not something acceptable, definitely, but we have also heard of incidents of male and female students being sexually abused by their teachers. What do you think should schools do to be able to ensure that situations like this would not happen in the future?
Whatever what's reported in that particular division, if it's an ongoing case, and then normally we don't but the question naman is preventive, no? What are we doing to prevent? I think it's worthwhile to note as well that these incidents are not actually confined to just the Department of Education. Ibig sabihin, this is really something that borders on, let's say, human behavior. And the way I see it, wherever you get humans, then you will have these kinds of like, I would surmise that there are also issues like that even in our religious sector, even in the manufacturing sector, in the business sector, diba? But not to say that I'm advocating it. I'm saying it's also something that we have to address. Kaya katulad ng sabi ko kanina, we are working with people, and we have to be, we have to adjust and form our policies based on behavior, on human behavior. So I think in the case of the division of Quezon City, there are a lot of policies, regulations, and already in place to address this. Also have done a lot of developmental activities for our school heads and administrators that gives them, we invite, parang professional depth for them that we invite, say, subject matter experts from the Philippine Mental Health Association that gives us a talk on identifying, let's say, telltale signs of this, like, di ba, yung makikita mo may someone who's depressed or may someone who's aloof, and those are things that you should get alerted and look into it kung bakit, and then minsan na-discover yung mga ganyan. Kasi di ba, it's not an open topic that people will talk about, especially di ba, like victims of abuse, and would rather really just keep to themselves and keep it. So yan yung mga challenges, and I think we've done great strides in this direction in terms of preparing the division. Our efforts to cascade mga child protection policies issued not only by the DepEd but also by the ILG and other government agencies that collaborates in terms of protecting health, kahit mental health issues, di ba, kasama lahat yan. And I think the infusion of their help into the school system has really created a wider awareness. Nandun na, lahat ng policies na yan and interaction of these different offices has already been cascaded and is continuously being monitored in the school para talagang ma-address natin yan, matigilan, and ma-prevent. Yeah.
Wow, sir. Dami ko natutunan. Marami pa po sana akong itatanong po, but we don't have enough time. So before we end this segment, I would like to ask any parting words or message from our school leaders, future school leaders, teachers, and students.
Okay. Well, anyway, whenever I'm asked that, ano ba yung mga words mo or mo, I think the best advice I can give to anyone, let's say our teachers, our future school heads, our future leaders of the country, kasi lahat naman nag-start dyan, di ba? Ibig sabihin, when you rise up in rank, it's really from
the bottom.
From knowing the from the bottom, and then di ba, that empowers you. Actually yan, nakakatulong yan to administer something kung alam mo sana. So I really look at our personnel. I really look at our teachers as not as our main front line in education, diba? But I see them as the pool of the next leadership of the department. Diba? Not only in schools, diba? Hindi ko nga sinasabi ko nga sila, do not restrict yourself in schools, not only in schools, go to division, go to national. Diba? Aspire to be ganun yan. So that's the way I look at them. And when people ask me, what's your message for them? I think the best message in them is really just to be anchored on the core of what it means to be a personnel of the Department of Education. Ano ba ibig sabihin nun? Kasi if you really understand that, you will really know what you're supposed to be doing kahit nasa ang level ka. Kahit say your utility, sabihin natin your clerk, kahit sabihin your teacher, kahit sabihin your master teacher, kahit sabihin your head teacher, kahit sabihin your superintendent, parang ganyan, or secretaries or USEC or mga ganyan. I think it boils down to the core. When you know that, I think you will never get lost in this organization. It's just embedded in our DepEd vision, ba? Nakalagay yan. It's just yan, di ba? If I may quote it, it says, "We dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation." Diba parang parang pag binasa mo yun, alam mo yung dapat mong gawin. Ano bang dapat na, diba, sinasabi nagtuturo ka. But to what end? To what purpose? Because diba, we want to create better citizens. We want to create citizens that contribute to nation building. We want to build citizens that love their country. Diba yun yung nun. So, if we look at that, we will never get lost, diba? We will know the proper thing to do. We will know that we will give equal opportunity to all because any one of them has the potential to be, to be whatever they can dream to be. Mga ganyan. So, if you ask me, that's the message. The message is know your core, know our purpose as an organization. That's embedded. Ibig sabihin, di ba yan, yung vision natin, yan yung gusto nating maabot. That's why we're a Department of Education. That's why, di ba, we have organized ourselves like this. That's why we have, di ba, control of these huge resources like this. That's why we have this mandate, di ba, to teach, to educate, to ano. So, pag alam natin yung gagawin natin, I think, tayo mismo, we will not get lost. And at the same time, someone who's not lost can lead someone to the right way. Parang gano'n. So, ibig sabihin, alam mo rin kung ano yung ituturo sa iba. Alam mo rin where to guide them. Diba? If you yourself, at your very core, alam mo that you're grounded in the direction set by our institution. So I think yun lang yun. If yun lang ang ma-master nila, yun lang ang ma-imbibe nila, I think this organization will really go to great lengths and achieve a lot more.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Our Assistant Schools Division Superintendent of SBOQC, Engineer Mark Voltaire A. Padilla. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ma'am Manilyn.